Hi, I'm Alex Clark, and these are Honda Civic Type Rs. On the right, we have my personal 2025 FL5 11th Gen Civic Type R, and to my left, we have this 2021 FK8 10th Gen Civic Type R. This is available for sale now at Clark Knapp Honda in Pharr, Texas. You'll notice we put brand new windshield on the vehicles. Real quick, I want to talk about some of the differences between the 10th Gen Civic Type R and the 11th Gen Civic Type R, and why someone would consider one over the other, right? So when I saw this vehicle was coming in as a trade, I knew we had to do a video on it because I was just so excited to get to hang out with one in person. The FK8 generation was from 2018 to 2021, and when the FK8 came to the United States, it was the first Civic Type R available in the United States for sale. Previously, Civic Type Rs had always been these like amazing, cool, Japan-only cars that we could only read about and look about online and in, you know, car magazines. So when the FK8 hit the market in 2018, it was a very special occasion for Honda and for just, you know, JDM car enthusiasts. The FK8 is distinguished from a lot of cars of its era. It's got the beautiful Brembo brakes. It's got kind of a aero system that some people really like, some people, you know, don't like as much. This to me looks very Initial D, very kind of anime, very leaning into that like Fast and the Furious look. Personally, I love that and I think it's amazing. But you know, the FL5, they toned some things down, but they improved a lot of things too. So fundamentally, these cars work off very similar engines. The big difference is that the FK8 has 305 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque, while the FL5 has a slight boost where we're up to 315 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque. So you're going up about 15 foot-pounds of torque and about 10 horsepower. So you're getting a little boost in performance when you go to the FL5. The FL5 also integrated a lot of advantages in cooling and chassis rigidity, and basically just improvements from the 10th Gen Civic that is the core of this car, and the 11th Gen Civic that's the core of this car. So it took a lot of those features and improved from the FK8 to the FL5. Now all that matters on track. As a street car, functionally, there's no real difference between the two on performance as far as like how you're going to live with the car, interact with the car, what kind of experience you're going to have as an owner driving it on the street. In the FK8 generations, in the 2018s and 19s, you didn't have nearly as much of the Honda sensing suite for safety features, and you also had, they were known at the time to go online and read about them. They'll talk about like oil temperature and engine heat being considerations for track driving on these. Well, the great news is this is 2021, so this is the last model year of the FK8. And so on this car in 2020, they received the Honda Sensing Suite, so it adds lane keep assist, blind spot warning, and all those kind of features we know and love from a Honda. But then you also get increased engine cooling, increased oil cooling technology in this one. So this is kind of like a step between the FL5 and the very, very first 2 years of the FK8. So this is really about the most desirable FK8 you could have, short of the collector's edition. So this guy's in championship white, it's in the right color, the traditional color for a Civic Type R, and it's after the upgrades and improvements of the mid-cycle refresh that they did on the Civic Type R. So this is pretty much the optimal Civic Type R FK8, and I love it. I think it's a beauty. So we'll show you some shots, let you take a look for yourself, and then I'll talk to you a little bit on the inside. So here we are inside of this beautiful 2021 FK8 Civic Type R 10th generation Civic. And so you can see, if you're familiar with the FL5s, you know, the current generation, it's a familiar space. You got the awesome bucket race seats. This is my first time sitting in this vehicle, and man, the comfort is kind of right there with the FL5. This would be no problem to road trip in this at all, but it'd do a great job, you know, holding you in if you're doing any kind of spirited driving. You know, this is basically a copy paste from the S2000, which I think is a cool feature. The Honda kind of keeps some elements going through the cars, you know, over the years. This particular Civic Type R is number R46802. So one of the things I love about these cars is they are serialized, so you know yours. You can have your story, or you can ask old owners about previous numbers. This particular car has 54,660 miles. So what's great about that is you're still well within the factory warranty, and if you choose to buy it as a certified pre-owned, that comes with all the protections that come with Honda's amazing CPO program. So it's a great place to be. Good news is the 10th generation Honda Civic is a very reliable car, particularly with a manual transmission and with a 2-liter turbo engine. This is a fantastic car with a great reputation for a reason. Some of the other interesting features that you may not know the difference between the FL5 and the FK8. You have all your controls, your main controls, climate, volume, the stuff you're going to use all the time are physical buttons. They're not haptics. Same thing, you've got your AC and your volume knob all right here as physical controls. And again, you got physical buttons for home, map, phone, etc. So everything you want is easy to do. You keep your eyes on the road, not messing around your infotainment system, which I think is great. You also notice on the FK8 we have 3 different drive modes. You've got comfort all the way at the back, and then it goes up to sport. It's probably where most of us are going to live. And then you've got plus R mode. So in plus R mode, that's where the dynamics get as tight as possible. The suspension tightens up a lot, the steering tightens up, and so you get really that kind of like race mode, that rally mode that will help you get your maximum possible performance out of this vehicle. And so this is a car that can do a lot, and it's got an average fuel economy of 23 miles per gallon, which for a fun car is not bad at all. But this car's doing everything you want. It's got a very nice condition Alcantara steering wheel, so it feels and looks fantastic. And with that, I want to drive this. So for those of you who haven't driven these, Hondas tend to have most of the action of the clutch where you're actually like getting the car into motion, etc. at the very end of play. So most of your clutch work is kind of there at the back, and this is no exception. The clutch operates very similarly to both the FL5 Civic Type R, let's say the Honda S2000, right? But everything's good, your position's good, car sounds great, as you would expect. This is a fun car. I was excited to get in this myself when I saw that we had one on the lot. One of the great things about these cars is they hold their value very well. One, because they're a Honda, and then two, because the interest in these cars is still there. These are cars that people care about. I remember when this car came out in the 2018 model year, and people were very excited about it. It was that like forbidden, awesome foreign car that you just couldn't get in the US at any price, right? Because they were too recent to import for the most part. So when this came out, this was a very exciting car, and that still holds up. These cars are reliable, easy to live with. And one of the things you get with this is just like the FL5, it's a hot hatch. This is a 4-seater. There is no middle seat in the back. They have a cup holder in the middle seat, but you do get plenty of room for adults front and back. I'm 6'2", about 225, depending on how many Taco Tuesdays I've been dealing with. I fit in this car great in the front seat, and I also fit in this car behind my own driving position in the back seat. You also have awesome trunk space and very usable hatch space. So if you got a load like, kid's stroller or some soccer equipment or anything like that, you got plenty of room. And you can tell your wife or your husband that, hey, don't worry, babe, I got a Civic. I got a very sensible family car. Then you can drive this home. We got a nice little straight shot here, so let's just take it into third. See how it feels. Shifts great, feels great. Shifts similarly to the FL5. Yeah, man, it feels good. It has a nice mechanical feel. It doesn't feel super rubber bandy or weird. Like everything feels how you would expect for a Honda to shift. Steering is very tight. You put it in plus R mode, the steering does get significantly heavier at that point. And also the suspension absolutely tightens up. But yeah, this is a dream, man. This is all those features that make the Civic Type R famous. And if you're thinking like, man, this is an older car, this is the previous gen, I don't know, how does it stack up? Honestly, for street driving, I don't think there's gonna be a big difference between the two. These are gonna be very, very similar technical driving experiences. On a track, the FL5 does bring some advantages to bear, because the FL5 Honda did an amazing job making it an iterative improvement on the FK8. But I'm gonna be real with you. If you told me, hey, you gotta switch your FL5 out for this FK8 today, I wouldn't feel bad about it, because one, I personally love Tokyo Drift kind of aesthetic. Like, I think the looks on this car are awesome. If you think it looks cool, drive it. I think you're gonna like it if you want manual. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Civic Type Rs are manual only. That can be intimidating for a lot of people. Don't worry, I'm right there with you. I'm someone that didn't know how to drive manual, and now I daily a manual. So it's not the end of the world. You will be embarrassed a little bit. You will stall out at stoplights. Occasionally people honk at you, and that's okay. That's just a very small part of life, right? This car is a great balance of, it does have all those sensing features and safety. It has that mid-cycle refresh. It does all that really well, right? But it's still this like manual, fun to drive experience that there's just not a lot of cars that do what this car does anymore. I'm very proud to represent Honda as one of the last bastions for that true driver's car, true driver's experience car. I mean, I think that's a very special place. Honda is trying to keep creating enthusiast cars, or cars that are easy to fall in love with, that aren't just really expensive toys. I think there's a lot of room for a fun, sporty, great manual car with a real back seat, with a real hatch, space for your stuff, easy to live in, fun to drive, reliable, holds its value. There's very few cars that do what they do, and all the cars that do what they do are either a step down in performance, or the cars that can hang with this car aren't as easy to live with on the daily, or they're more expensive and don't have a manual. So first driving impressions, FK8. I've never gotten driven one myself yet. This is my first time. You're here for history. Man, I love this car. This is a great car. This is very, very similar to the FL5. I think this is a car that is very easy to love. So I'm Alex Clark, dealer Clark Knapp Honda. Thank you for your time today. Hopefully you learned something about the FK8 or, got to hear from someone that's had a lot of, stick time on both, on the FL5, and get first impressions on the FK8. This is a great car. Stop by Clark Knapp Honda, check it out. I hope a cool enthusiast ends up with this car. Let's keep the spirit of manual alive. Let's keep the spirit of reasonably priced, fun sports cars alive. Let's keep the spirit of Honda alive. Thank you guys.